Welcome to the podcast. I am so happy and so excited to be sitting down with this individual. His name is Brandon. Brandon, please introduce yourself to the world.
Thanks, Dr. Who, for having me here. My name is Brandon. Brandon Lee, actually. A lot of people think I'm the son of Bruce Lee.
I
Um,
would love
which,
that.
but I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. A little bit about my story is that I actually dropped out of college, and when I was younger, I was very depressed, very insecure, very unsure about my life, very pessimistic about life. But over the last, I don't know, 10 something years of my career, I've been in nonprofit, I've been in real estate, I've been in education, I've been in tech. And right now, I currently run a personality test company where I try to help people find out what they actually enjoy in life and then hopefully help them build a life and career around what they enjoy. Because that's the kind of world that I would like to live in, that I believe that more people want to live in, is spending their time doing what they enjoy rather than kind of slogging away and doing what they have to do at a job or doing a very like dreadful career.
Yeah.
And in my free time, I spend time writing. I spend time reading. Kind of a hermit. I don't necessarily need to go out and travel all the time.
Hey, that's a good thing now. That's a good
Um,
thing.
I'm not that much of a social butterfly. I don't need to always be around people. I'm very much an introvert, and yeah, that's just how I'm wired. Those are some things about me.
Nice. I love it. I love it. All powerful things. I want to ask you about the personality test. Tell
Sure.
me a little bit more about that and how you got into that. I hear the connection, right? When you started talking, but yeah, you can tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the first question usually people ask is, okay, why do we need another personality test? There's a lot of them out there, and a lot of personality tests are basically measuring how often you do a thing or how good you are at a thing. And like I mentioned, the main difference with mine is about how much you enjoy things, because it's possible to do a thing a lot and not enjoy it. It's possible to be really good at a thing and not enjoy it. That's most people's careers. It's like they slave away at a job that they don't enjoy or they don't find meaningful. That's very typical. So yeah, that's the whole premise. It's There's just not a lot of assessments out there that are trying to do that. So that's in a nutshell what it's about. And then in terms of how I got into it. Yeah, about 4 years ago, my friends and I were reading this really powerful book. Actually, it's actually, in my opinion, one of the best personal growth books, and that's kind of the theme of what you're all about. So I thought you might resonate. But the book is called 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership,
Yes, sir.
and it's basically every single chapter in the book. It talks about a specific aspect of personal growth. Like the first chapter is about taking responsibility. Feeling Another chapter is about feeling all your feelings. Another one's about candor. Another one's about integrity. Another one's about play. Another one's about genius. And genius, that chapter is the one that informed all this work that I've done around personality tests. Um, and so reading that chapter, I was in a book club and we were just doing this worksheet that came with the book. And yeah, from that exercise, my friends were like, "Hey, you should take this a little bit more seriously, because the way that you did this worksheet with us was really powerful." And so that's where it started, where I did this worksheet with a handful of friends. I did it with six other friends after that, and then I posted on Facebook, invited my Facebook network to try it. 20 people signed up, and
You're like, what?
consistently, yeah, consistently people were like, "Hey, this was powerful. This was really helpful for me." And so I basically did 100 of these one-on-one sessions about through this worksheet. And this worksheet was like a kind of a self-reflection exercise where it's like, come up with 8 moments in your life where you enjoyed what you were doing and you were proud of the outcome that you had.
Oh, I like that question. I
Right. And
like.
so just thinking about those stories, it just like it focuses on a really specific aspect of your life, and it's an aspect that most people don't consciously think about. um, and yeah, so I did that for a lot of people, and then eventually there was an investor that happened to be part of that early cohort, and he it actually changed his life. That session changed his life. It changed how he thought about his own career. It changed about how he related to his wife and kids, and and then out of nowhere, after like a year after that one session, he got on a call with me and he was like, "Hey, I want you to build this for my kids.
Woo!
Can you turn this into a
That's
school? Can you turn
true.
this? And yeah, I never saw that coming. I didn't expect
You
that when
weren't
I was,
expecting that one.
yeah,
That's a great session. That means you did something powerful there for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. So yeah, that's the origin story of how the
Okay.
assessment started. It was started in a book club with a few friends, and then out of nowhere, some investor dude's like, "I want this to exist for my kids." I'm like,
Here's some
"Oh."
money. I love it.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It was like I never really had to do this traditional fundraising process. I never expected to do this full time, at least in this way. But kind of life just happened. As when you're following, when you're on your path, like things like that just kind of happen. So
Now, so one of the when you started, you said you were having a rough time because you dropped out of college. Now
yeah,
that's a feeling a lot of people get, right? Because
hmm
it's not for everyone, or it's
it
not.
isn't.
It depends what you want to do, right? It has to be
Absolutely.
targeted.
Yeah.
So, how did you get out of that? Because I think that would be helpful for somebody that's going through that.
Yeah. For me, the backdrop of that was I was at the time looking for meaning. Like I at an early age was already thinking about why do anything? Like what's the point of everything? And like I was very existential in that sense. I remember in middle school I was like I aming friends like, hey, why are we even getting a relationship? Why are we doing school? I was asking why? And so that was tied to my relationship with school. And I didn't know why I was going to school. I had all these, all these friends that were like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go to this, I'm gonna major in this, I'm gonna go to this college. And I'm like, how are you so motivated? How do you already know what you want?
Why do you want to?
I was so confused. And I remember feeling like I was like the only person who felt like that. And like now in hindsight, I know that a lot of people feel like that.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so when I was in college, I actually went to community college for my first year, and I knew that I was lost. All I did at the time was I just took a bunch of different classes that I never would normally take, and I tried to follow what I thought was I was curious about. So curiosity was purely the North Star. And then if there were some classes I didn't enjoy, I just dropped it. I was okay with getting bad grades on it because I didn't really care. I just wanted to be engaged. I wanted to be curious. I wanted to care about what I was doing. And so I dropped out because I didn't think any of the options in school were meaningful. Um, and the ultimate tipping point was because I actually found something that was worth dropping out for. So
Ooh,
and so that's the biggest difference.
okay.
But all throughout my college experience, which was about a year and a half, I was mostly very disengaged in school. I didn't really care. I didn't really see the point. I wasn't that great of a student. And I was just looking. I was always looking for like, I just want to care about something. I want my life to matter, but I don't know where to start. And so I kind of just tried everything, tried to see what stuck. But yeah, I dropped out because I found something meaningful. And that's actually how I got out of it, is finding that thing that was meaningful that kind of reinvigorated my life in a really powerful way. And I don't, I kind of stumbled upon it, by accident. Like it
Great
wasn't,
things happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It wasn't a strategic, oh, you know what? Here's this plan, and then I'm going to go do it, and then I'm going to find it. Like it was definitely not at all like that.
Okay, and so it was so you found this opportunity or this thing, this purpose, right? Let's just say this purpose, and you said, you know what? Gone. What do you feel guilt still from the school or not at all? You're pretty
Absolutely. I'm an Asian dude. Like I'm an Asian kid. Like I to like
I wasn't gonna say that.
all the cultural stereotypes were accurate in my case, right? Like I had my dad like threatened to disown me, like if I
Of
didn't get my
course.
grades up. My sister had like a 4.0. My brother was an engineer, and like
Oh,
basically anytime you get literally less than an A, like for me growing up, like that was a threat of getting yelled at. Like I knew that I would be going home knowing that my dad might chew me out, kind of thing.
yeah.
So in like almost all of my friends growing up, all at least all my Asian friends, all of them consistently got good grades, went to great schools. So like it was a form of cultural suicide to drop out of school. Like I grew up thinking like, hey, if you don't do well in school, you're gonna work at McDonald's and flip burgers for the rest of your life. That was the threat. Like that was, and
Yeah, it was. It
that
always
was a
was.
threat that I believed, like, oh, like, so dropping out of college equals failure, equals like working at McDonald's my entire life. So I truly believed that at the time. And I know that in the US system, like it doesn't all like we're a bit more forgiving than that. Like life is a bit more forgiving than that.
Yes.
But I truly believed that at that age. So dropping out was absolutely like earth shattering for me. Like I was committing like a heinous crime. And when I
It's
told
humanity.
yeah, and when I told my mom that at the time, she yelled at me for like it was like a 2 week argument, and she was saying things like, why are you trying to disrespect me? Why are you trying to like dishonor like the family or like
Oh
she took it
man.
so personally. And I didn't understand it at the time, but I think that's part of the Asian immigrant mindset where it's like, our parents, my parents at least, gave up everything that they had, took all this risk, leave their home country, to try to create a better future for us. And in their view, college is the way
Yeah, that was
to
the vision they had for you.
yeah.
Wow.
And
But
so for
that's
me to like throw it
courage.
all away is like a slap in the face. Right.
So
So
that's a courage on your part to stand up for your happiness. So, kudos to you because that's huge. You battle
yeah,
to
so
get
so a lot of people say that when they hear the story, and at least from where I stood, it didn't feel like it took any
of
courage.
course not. It felt
Right.
it felt bad. I'm pretty sure it felt like you failed.
No,
That's
so not even that. I think I mean of course there was some of that, but I think the predominant thing was this was the only choice I had. Right. I like again, the backdrop is I'm looking for meaning and purpose. And I felt like I wanted that at all costs. And here I am, I found something. So to not pursue that in my mind felt like a non like there was no choice there. It's like
of
I spent my last 2 years of my life looking for this thing that I didn't even know if it existed or not, which was meaning and purpose. And here I found it. And like to not pursue that felt like
yeah.
the dumbest decision in the world. Right. And
That
of
would have been a
course there
crime.
that felt like the true crime, right?
Yeah,
That
that
felt
would.
like that felt like more heinous and more it would have taken more courage to walk away from that than not, because it was the thing that I had always been searching for the last 2 years. So yes, it took courage, yes, but in that moment, it felt like the only obvious choice. So like I found it, this is the choice. Like it was,
Got it.
that's how clear it was to me at the time.
Do you mind sharing what that purpose was, or is that
Yeah,
it's
yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. So basically, some of the backdrop is that I grew up in church, and it was kind of a very vanilla church. There wasn't any like I went to like I don't know vacation Bible school and prayer meetings on Wednesdays and Fridays, and I grew up like being part of the worship team, stuff like that. And I continued to go to church when I was in college, and I noticed that that was one of the things that kept me engaged. Like, school was kind of boring, and then during the weekends, like I was super excited to go to church because there was this church a new church that I ended up going to, and they felt a lot more interesting. They felt like they had a different take on spirituality and God and faith and living that was different than what I grew up with. And so when I was, yeah, so again, those first year, that year and a half in college, I spent a lot more time being involved in church.
got it.
And so this particular group was very involved with the community. They spent more time like working with the homeless, talking to the homeless, and serving people and being engaged in the community. And I ended up finding this, yeah, a group that was very engaged with that, and the way they approached it was just really powerful. And so there were these few experiences where interacting with homeless, seeing people get healed of things and transformed or just impacted by like, hey, wow, like thank you for just talking to me like I'm a human. And then also meeting friends that were doing that full time. They kind of inspired me of like, oh, like you can literally spend like not have a normal job and just go work with homeless people and go pray for people and like
Yeah,
you can pay
you're
your
like,
bill you can pay your bills like that. And like they were like, oh yeah, like we can, it's not a great living, but
you can
like
do
we
it.
do this full time. And so like so now it became I found something meaningful, and then I found someone who was practically able to build a life around it. It wasn't like anything meaningful, or it wasn't anything like financially meaningful, but it was like heart meaningful. And so what is the intersection of those two things, I realized like, okay, like if this guy can do it, You know what? Why don't I join him? I'll do it with him. So it was this guy and his wife and this other young youth pastor, and we all basically quit our normal life to just go
Wow, that's
work with the
cool.
homeless. We started our own house church. We wrote about faith. We wrote about spirituality. Started recording YouTube videos. Yeah, that was the whole thing. Yeah,
What? You
yeah.
see how powerful purpose is, man.
Oh yeah.
It changes things. Look how you put it ahead of financials, right? You said, as long as I can
Mhm.
pay my bills, this is more
Yeah,
fulfilling for me, and I'm
yeah.
getting more out of this. It's powerful. For me, purpose drove me to school. So
Mm,
purpose can do it. It's if you find it within yourself, it completely can take you through that path. Look how different the paths, but still
totally, totally.
purpose. It's still that word. I love that word.
Yeah.
So how has it been going for you in this like that change?
Well, so many things have changed, right? So the first path was thinking that my life is about helping like the homeless, the sick, and working with Christians, like and inspiring Christians to do more of that work. I thought that was going to be my life's work. I thought when I dropped out, I'm like, I can do this for the rest of my life,
This is
and
it.
like it was my life for 2 years. 2 years. Basically, yeah, basically about after a year and a half, I got really discouraged. Like not really seeing any long-term change. Like we were helping a lot of people, but no one was really like giving up their life to follow Jesus. No one was really joining our
Got
church, and that was one layer of it. Eventually, I really got tired of like being broke. It was like exciting at first.
That's
Uh,
a little, yeah,
but
it
yeah,
can be
basically
tiring.
like every month, not knowing whether I could pay rent or not like this a few times driving my car and not looking at the gas tank and like I don't know if I can fill my gas tank like because I don't know where my money's coming from. And basically, yeah, I never missed a rent payment, but it was super stressful and it felt very confusing to have to be giving my entire being to
And not
care
getting,
for humanity and then feel like I can't even pay my bills. Like
yeah,
something felt off about that. And for me and my friends, we refused to be part of this kind of like a like famous speaker kind of culture where it's like you speak a lot, you ask people to give more offerings, you encourage people to tithe. Like we don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, but I think the way they emphasized it felt off, right? Jesus often in the Bible talked about like freely I've received, freely give. And so we were really big proponents of that. Almost refused to ask for financial contributions, and the
got it.
result was we were mostly broke, right? And but we felt so fulfilled and empowered, and like we felt like we were doing the right thing. But yeah, living was hard. Like the real aspects of life, like just surviving and having a roof over our heads and eating food was a struggle. So yeah, so after a year and a half of that, I started looking for other things. I started getting frustrated. I'm like, hey, there must be something else. Um, and then, yeah, so I started realizing money was a really big issue. All my friends were broke. So many Christians that we were working with broke. All these nonprofits that we're working for were broke. And so I realized, you know what? Money seems to be a really big problem. Like maybe I should address that, like for myself and also for my friends.
Mhm.
And so that's when I started it. Lots of back and forth, but basically I realized I want to understand money because I never want to struggle like this again. And I also want to like solve this problem for my friends. And so it was a bit of a journey going from this is my life's calling to maybe it wasn't my life's calling to
Got it.
figuring out, okay, what's my next step then? And yeah, so after some maybe like 6, 9 months of soul searching, I I decided, you know what, I want to learn real estate. It seems like people in real estate understand money, and I want to understand money. I want to make money. So that's the next thing I did. I decided to flip houses. And so my purpose went from life's calling to like there's a really important problem I want to solve for myself and for other people, which is money. And that became my focus for the next 4 years. And so it was totally different, totally different flavor of purpose, but it gave me the same kind of motivation and drive as dropping out to work with the homeless did.
Gotcha.
That was the first step, and then similar thing happened again when I started an education company, and then I guess similar thing when I'm running this personality test. But yeah.
So basically, your purpose, you do want to help. You want to make sure you leave something behind of value to people, that they learn something from you. I mean, I think that's the way it goes, right? On your way to
Hmm.
something, you find what you're looking for. So I
Yeah.
think this is good. Now, when we spoke, when we first met, you told me, you were telling me you live in different places. Tell me a little bit about that. I was like, I haven't stopped thinking
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so basically about 2 years ago, I got out of a really bad relationship, and it was still technically the pandemic, and I actually, when the pandemic started, I was already thinking about there's no need to live in the same place anymore. Everyone went remote. So I'm like, why am I living in San Francisco? It's so expensive here. So I was thinking, why don't I just like live somewhere cheaper and like I can still do my work? And so the combination of those things, uh, right when the breakup happened, I kind of just hit resume on my old plans of like I was planning to travel anyway. So and so many of my friends moved. And so when I got out of the relationship, was kind of had a lot more freedom. So I basically visited friends in Texas, in Colorado, in New York, and then I ended up in Puerto Rico because I actually had three friends that moved there, and I was basically looking for the next home base, somewhere I could stay that wasn't the Bay Area, and Puerto Rico ended up being the place. And so for the last 2 years, I've basically rotated between Puerto Rico, between Colorado, New York, and San Francisco. And my cost of living has just like my rent is basically really cheap. My cost of living is really cheap, so I get to choose where I live. And I have this setup currently where in Puerto Rico, I have this work trade setup where I can stay at this mansion and live there as long as I want and not pay any rent, as long as I do 2 hours of yard work every day that I'm there.
No. Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess the next question is, where is this mansion? And I'm good at yard work.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
great. You should see what I do, man. I do
yeah.
great with the grass or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
yard work entails. Man, that
Yeah.
is a great story. So that's a nomad. You see, that's the word
Mm,
you use, right? That's what that's
yeah. Meaning I don't like have a home base. Like like
got
I
it.
don't have a home address, so to speak. I
Got
don't
it.
have any lease locking me in for any time, like any standard amount of time. I
That
can just
sounds like
leave and go
freedom.
wherever. Yeah,
That sounds like freedom.
it is a form of freedom. I mean, of course, there's trade-offs that come with it, but yes,
What
it
would you
is.
say? Can you share one? What's something that the downside to it?
Well, it's like it questions your relationship with how you navigate ambiguity. So if you are the kind of person that wants things planned out and wants at least 3 months of your life planned out, you might struggle with this lifestyle because nothing is planned. Nothing
Uh,
is planned. There's an infinite amount of ambiguity. Literally every day you can ask, oh, where do I want to live tomorrow? Where do I
yeah.
want to live at the end of the week? And you can ask yourself that every single day. And so if you need that kind of clarity, you will spend a lot of time trying to figure out the answer to that question. So for me, like I'm very comfortable with ambiguity, having not done a traditional 9 to 5 for a very long time. And yeah, I've been doing this for 2 years now. So that's the trade-off. It's like having to, if you travel and change where you're living too often, it can feel very unsettling, and you basically have to figure out a lot of logistics. Like, yeah, what's your internet situation? Where are you going to work? Where do you get
Got
food?
it.
Like, how do you cook? Like, how do you think about food planning? Do you like the place that you're staying? Like, are you able to cook? Like, there's it could
So
be
these
those
are
are the
things you
kinds of
don't
things.
think about. Yeah, they're things you don't think about because we have them every day if you're settled
Yeah,
into a spot. Well, I
yeah,
like that. I don't know. When you said that, I think that sounds fun. Like to
yeah.
be able
Hmm.
to move around but
Hmm.
I can see how, yeah, I do like my stableness. So yeah,
Yeah.
I see how that could create problems. So
And
when
then
people,
I also realized that like if I travel too often and change places too often, I start to feel unsettled. I
got
start to feel like there's not enough stability. So even in the last 2 years, I've oscillated. I've gone back and forth between, you know what, like I want to stay put for a few months, And then there's other times where I'm like, I'm just itching. I'm like, you know what? I'm for the next
Oh,
2 weeks, I'm gonna travel to like 4 different places and like visit all my friends. So you go through these phases,
got
and
it.
learning to manage them is a core part of it.
I think that's pretty cool. Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you. So let's talk about the personality test. When
sure,
is
sure.
this thing out? When can we purchase it? When can we get it?
Oh no, it's already out. So
Ah,
you can go to the website geniusofyou.com. So it's like kind of like you are a genius, so genius of you. And the main test is actually free. So the test that it took me like 3 years to build, that's actually entirely free right now. So just go on the site, take it. It's like takes 10 minutes. There is a second assessment that I built, and that one's paid. But that's basically it. If you got a lot out of it, then you can pay for the second one. But yeah, the main one is free. You just 56 questions, sit down, take it, like a bunch of multiple choice questions. And yeah, it is out. There's obviously a lot of improvements that I'm working on to make it better, make it more useful. But for now, it's totally free. You can share it with friends, have fun conversations about your different scores. But yeah,
well, but even though you've switched your career choices for the church, it still aligns with one thing, helping people. Why do you think
correct.
that's so important to you? Like, why you could do, obviously, you're smart, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, you can pick a career, and if
Mhm.
that's what you want to do, why help people?
So I did this exercise when I was in high school where I thought about what my funeral would be like. And I imagined the very first version of my funeral. I imagined me doing life the way I had normally done at the time. And I was like, okay, let's just play my life out the way I currently live life. How will my funeral play out? And I just imagined people at my funeral saying like, man, like, why are we here?
Oh,
Like like people kind of I just imagine people annoyed that going to the funeral was like an errand for them. And they're
God.
like Brandon didn't really do anything. Like we're just here just because, people like said we should come and like, okay, maybe we'll catch up. And like they didn't really care. And I just remember just playing out those hypothetical conversations and I'm like, that is not a life I would want to live. But my current life is leading to that. And then I tried to imagine like the most meaningful, fulfilling version. So I tried to like come up with, oh, like if people went to my funeral, there were like hundreds of people there, and everyone there was just like, man, like how did Brandon change your life? Like Brandon made this difference in my life. He was here for this stage of my life, and it made all the difference. He helped me when I was struggling with this, and like he taught me this. And I imagine that, and I'm like, that is so much more fulfilling. And that would be a funeral that, even though I wouldn't even be there to hear that, like that would be to live a life that would lead to hundreds of people being there and sharing these kinds of stories. I wanted that. That felt far more meaningful than the first version that I imagined. And so it just became like a reverse engineer of like, how should I live my life? How should I be in this world if I wanted to create that? And I realized that it all started with helping people. Like I didn't know how, I wasn't competent, I was young, and it was just like, you know what? I just need to change one life. I don't know much right now, but like if I can care enough for a human or like share what I do know, then I can start creating that kind of future funeral. And I started realizing the older that I got that, yeah, the more that I know, the more that I can help, the more problems that I can solve, the more ways that I can help more people. So at this point, yeah, it's not even about the what. It's like I just have an attitude of help people in a meaningful way. It doesn't matter what I learn because the more I learn, like I can there's just more ways to help people. And so that's like you said, like that's so core to how I see and think now. And it's all still tied to that exercise that I did in high school of like, you know what, like a more meaningful life would be people at the end of my life sharing the about the impact that I've had on them. That just feels more fulfilling, and that's I'd rather choose that than the other one, which is like I'm wasting my time here being at Brandon's funeral. He's kind of didn't do anything for me. So yeah,
Love it.
so
I
that was
love the
it.
legacy. It's powerful, actually. That's
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And it look, you're doing it. You've
yeah,
been doing it, so
yeah,
that's pretty cool. So
yeah.
this, how does this fit into the personality test? How does it fit into your big picture?
Big. I think those are two different questions, but specifically with how it fits the personality test is I've had people who've taken like the investor who's taken the assessment and it's completely changed how he approaches his own life and then how he relates to his wife. I did the early sessions that I had with friends. Like I've had few friends quit their jobs or like completely
Nice.
change careers after doing the assessment with me. Yeah, so I just hop on regular calls with people, like reading people's results back to them and like coaching them about how to apply in their life. I just had a recent person that kind of went through a reinvention coaching program with me where it's like I meet with them 6 times and I try to help them apply their specific results into their life. And this is a lady who was trying to get pregnant for about a year with her husband. She's more intuitive. That's what her results in the assessment
Awesome.
suggest. But she wasn't like deeply experienced with her intuition. She actually had trouble connecting with it, even though her results say that that's how she should live her life.
Mhm.
Um, and over the course of 3, 4 sessions, my goal was to try to help her build practices to listen to her intuition and basically, after not on our fourth call, this is to this day the most crazy story I've ever heard from like doing any kind of coaching. Um, she told me that she got pregnant, and it was partially because she started trusting her intuition more and allowing that part of her life to be more aligned because that was the whole practice. And in that process, something clicked for her, and then she got pregnant. And that was the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever heard.
That's
I'm like,
crazy. Talk about mind over matter there. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
That is that.
it
But
was nuts.
it's important to know your target, right? And know
Yeah,
yourself. So
yeah.
that's what this basically does. It gives you
Mhm.
what you need to work on and what your strengths are. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so for a lot of people, they basically have this like subtle sense that, man, something's just a little bit off about my life. I can't
Mhm.
put my finger on it. Don't know how to have the words for it. Something's off, and I don't particularly like my life. It's not like it's not that everything is wrong, it's but like something is off. And this assessment has over and over has helped people identify, oh, that's the thing that's off.
And it's usually right there.
Yeah.
You know.
And like a really concrete example, even in my life right now, is my girlfriend took the assessment, and I actually had her entire leadership team at her company take the assessments as well. And it helped her basically see that she is the only one at her company that is wired a particular way. And that's when she realized I need to leave my job. And
Yeah.
so,
Wait, Brandon, we gotta
yeah,
talk a little. It's
yeah,
like everybody that takes this assessment leaves.
yeah.
No, I'm playing.
Not
I know,
everyone, but yeah,
but that's good. Wasting time and something that you don't want
yes,
or not gonna do is it's
yeah,
criminal. It's criminal
yes,
to yourself and to whoever you're gonna serve in the future because you're not gonna get to
yes,
that serving. You're just
yes,
gonna hate life. So that I love it.
yeah,
I love it. But so you made
yeah.
her quit her job, basically.
I didn't make her. I didn't even expect that. Like
You changed a few questions there, and
I just explained the results. I'm like, hey, based off of your scores, it seems like you need this environment to like a particular environment to thrive based off of your scores. That's all I said. And then she kind of put two and two together. I'm like, I don't think I should be here anymore.
oh my God. And she brought the assistant into her job. And
Yes.
oh
Yeah.
man. All right.
Yeah.
But hey, she's finding it, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about, like you want to add about what you're doing?
Yeah. So I kind of just want to explain some of the
Sure.
things that the assessment measures,
Let's
right?
do it.
So like every personality test is measuring a thing. So there's 7 buckets that my assessment measures, and there's one I can just name all of them. They might not mean that much right now, but I'll break them down a little bit. But presence, somatic, coach, alchemist, superhuman, artisan, and deconstructor. So those are the 7 geniuses, and I evaluate every single person across all 7 of those dimensions. And so presence is kind of like is about emotion. Somatic is about intuition. Coach is about the impact that you have on other people. Alchemist is about your curiosity, how much you enjoy learning. Superhuman is about how much you enjoy challenge and pushing yourself. Artisan is about creative expression. And then deconstructor is about thinking and strategy and frameworks. And so that's just to give you give your listeners also like a nutshell of like how like vastly different these categories are. And there's basically no other assessment out there that is evaluating all of these dimensions. And just to call out specifically somatic and the intuition genius, there are very, very few assessments that even care about intuition, that even call intuition as like a valid, important part of
Yeah,
how we
let it
live and
verify
be.
it.
Yeah, especially just in most people's corporate lives or like professional lives, intuition is not very welcome in
At
a work
all.
settings at all.
Yes. But it's
Um,
important. It's one of
it
the most
is
important
it
things there
is
is, right?
somatic. I actually think is one of the most important geniuses out of the seven. It's the
Why?
most rare one, and I think to answer your question, why is because um, somatics and intuition basically are constantly caring about the holistic wellness and well-being of everything. Like they just sense that holisticness, right? And so people who are really well tuned into their intuition and score high on this dimension, if they're very experienced in life, there's almost like this vast harmony in their life, in their relationships, in their work, in everything, in their being, in their health. They're because they're constantly listening to that. They're getting signals internally about how to realign things so that everything is in a flow.
I love
And in my mind, they're one of the most important geniuses on the planet, and they're also the most rare because they are looking for that. Not the all the other geniuses are kind of focused on making sure their thing
got
is
it.
tapped in, but inherently baked into the somatic one, it's all about like this harmony between us, harmony between me and work, harmony between society, harmony between my own well-being and health. So like the more somatics are tuned in and living an abundant life and like aligned life, the more everyone around them is actually like lined up and aligned and like thriving. So
Got it. So they're creating more impact around them. Everybody that's around them
I
is
think they naturally have like a rising tide raises all ships effect. Uh, and yeah, they are able just to tap into like a different kind of wisdom that isn't just out of our heads.
got it.
It is beyond, it's beyond intellectual. So
How rare is it? You said it was rare,
yeah.
those that type. How rare?
Yeah, so it's actually so given seven categories, if we were just to roll dice purely by chance, one in seven people, basically like 15% of people you would expect to show up in every single category. But presence, or sorry, somatic people, they're about 5%. So basically like, and that's the lowest percentage out of all the other ones.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it.
So basically they're three times rarer than you would expect from random chance.
I'm gonna take this test. I'm very interested in it. This is
Yeah.
pretty cool. I'm
Yeah.
Are you proud of yourself for developing this?
I'm very proud of what it took to build it. And I think it just is very aligned with my genius, where it's just like it was fun for me to build.
Yeah.
And not everyone would
Which one is
think of
yours?
that. So if you were to guess, what do you think it'd be? Out of the seven that I labeled, which one do you think?
The one that's creative, I believe.
No. Okay. So
No, I
it's
have no idea. Don't
yeah,
put me
I
on the
know.
spot like
I don't
that.
expect you. I just wanted to see if you had
Go ahead, tell
a
me, tell
guess.
me, tell
It's the
me.
deconstructor one. It's the last one. It's about frameworks. So it's about like the thinky one. It's called deconstructor, and basically it likes breaking things apart. It likes
Ah,
getting really
yes.
specific and categorizing things and organizing things and measuring things. It's so I'm very, very high on that genius.
And how
Uh,
did it help you knowing this? You know, getting this. Just to give an example to anyone
mhm,
that's thinking about taking these assessments,
mhm.
what did it do for you to know this? How did it make a change in your life?
So I've I've always been very in my head, and I've I have a lot of friends that do a lot of personal growth stuff, and a lot of them are like, ah, you got to work on your emotions. You got to like tap into how you feel. And I understand like that is a big part of the human experience. And I thought that there was something wrong with me for a while, that
Mhm.
like I'm too in my head. And so I spent a lot of my 20s thinking like, yeah, maybe I should tone down my headiness and like tap in more into my heart, tap into my feelings. And I did a lot of work around that. And so it wasn't a bad thing per se, but seeing my results basically gave me more permission to realize that no, I'm like good. Like I'm really good in my head. And it gave me more permission to own that and be like, yeah, like I'm really good at thinking and I really enjoy thinking. And rather than before in my 20s, it was like, yeah, like I think a lot, but maybe I should think less. Like
God,
people told
you
me
were
like I should,
questioning. Got
yeah.
it. So it
And
gave you
so,
confidence in everything you do, right? It
oh,
helped you with your career. It helped
yeah.
you in your personal life. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's really,
And
really
so
cool.
yeah, so for a lot of people, we tend to listen to the people around us around what we think is
Definitely.
normal and what should be normal. Yeah, we have parents that do that, we have friends that do that, we have society, we have social media that does that. And here's this assessment that's like, ignore what everyone else is saying. Based off your results, this is what you should be paying attention to. You enjoy this or a combination of these things and listen to that. And that
Right.
gave me confidence and like the thousands of people that have taken the assessment, same thing, similar vibes where they realize,
Confident to be
oh,
yourself. I love it. I think
yes,
that's very powerful because once you have the confidence to be who you are, no matter what's going on, then you can make an impact not only for yourself, but for
yes,
everyone around you. Like you said, it changes
yes.
everyone you
Mm.
touch if you
and
are your
and
authentic
and
self.
and it won't feel like a performance,
That's
right? It
right.
won't feel
That's
like,
right.
and because people could listen to your podcast and be like, you know what, I should follow my purpose because that's what Dr. Julio says,
Got
and
it.
and it becomes like another performance of like I should do purposeful things because like he told me I should, and
Yeah, but
you
what
might,
is purpose, right? Purposeful things are things that connect with you. What makes
yes,
you more? So yeah, that's
yeah,
this gets you the answer to that. Like,
yes,
what is that? Because like I
yes,
said,
yeah,
for me, my purpose took me through school.
hmm,
Since I was a high school dropout and had
hmm,
kids and became a single homeless father, school
hmm,
for me was to show these kids that you can
hmm,
do whatever it is you want
yeah,
to do. It's just
yes,
because
yeah,
statistically, I'm not supposed to have any degree, right? Because of
sure,
where I came from. So I
sure,
wanted them to have no excuses to succeed. And that's what drove me through the whole thing. I did
mm,
horrible. I'm not the smartest cat, but
sure,
that
yeah,
purpose drove me. That was my purpose. Yours took you the other way, which is
hmm,
excellent. That's the thing
yeah,
with purpose. I love it. It is
yeah.
amazing. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
No, I mean, I could talk about a lot of things, but whatever, yeah, wherever you want to go. But those, in terms of the assessment, yeah, that just to give you your listeners a sense of what we're measuring, and I think the maybe thing I would add to that would be it's actually possible to score negative on
Wait,
this
what do
assessment.
you mean? How is that? What does that mean?
Again, there's 56 questions, and
Okay.
so they I give you a prompt, and one example would be like, you know what, I really like the perfect evening would be like thinking like helping a friend. That would be my perfect evening. That's an example of a prompt. And then your choices are strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, somewhat agree, somewhat and like strongly agree. So that's an example. So if you select the strongly disagree, it'll make your scores towards the negative. And so a lot of people will think that a negative is bad or it means something. And well, as the creator of it, I'm basically trying to say that it actually doesn't matter whether you score negative or positive. The whole point of the assessment is to understand which one is higher and which one is lower. And negative, all negative means is that you don't get as much enjoyment from it. And that's the whole point.
I
So I
love
actually have like a -9 on the presence one, which is about feelings.
it. But you
So,
kind of
so
knew that already, right? That's something
I
you
mean, I didn't expect that I would score so negative. I knew that it
got it.
wasn't my top genius, but again, that just helps me embrace that part of myself, which is like, it doesn't mean that I can't feel my feelings. It doesn't mean that I don't feel my feelings or don't like label them or don't know how to talk about them. It means that it costs me energy. It costs me effort to do
Got it.
that. Whereas if you ask me to think about, hey, Brandon, break this idea down for
You're
me,
like, let's
evaluate
do
this.
it.
I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it. It's fun. Like I get energy.
So it's
And
it's kind of like your strength and weaknesses. So it gives you that. It lets you know
yeah,
what to live with. It's I love it. I'm gonna take it. I really,
yeah,
really like I would like to know what comes out for me. So I'm definitely
yeah,
gonna take it. It's and I think it's powerful that you're giving people
yeah.
another tool because that's
Yes.
what
Yeah.
matters, right? Having all these tools to be able to find yourself and be able to find what you want to do, because
Mhm.
everyone can make it. Everyone can do what they want to
Yes.
do. Look at you.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
did what you wanted to do, and you're
Yep.
here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for giving society this gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It is.
I
It is
love
my
it.
gift to the
I
world. Yes.
love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it today. I have to. Now I'm curious as to what I am, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
I'll send you the links to take it, and
Yes.
you can take the second assessment. I'll like send you a link for that, and then if you want, happy to hop on a thought call and we can nerd out about what the results mean and how you can apply it in your life and whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm excited actually.
yeah,
Oh, thank you, Brandon, for joining me. Thank you so much. It was great conversation. I
yeah,
love what you've done. I love what you've done with the place. I love what you've done with your life. I loved
yeah.
how the directions you have taken, and I love that you're following your calling. So
And yeah, thank you for having me on, and thank you for
thank you.
your commitment and like enthusiasm and
Of
excitement
course.
around like really championing people to live in their purpose. Like
Of
we have a
course.
meaning
Yes.
and purpose crisis in
Yeah.
society.
Right now. Yes, I got you. Well,
Uh,
thank you for
yeah.
joining me. Have a great day, and it was nice to be with you.
All right. Thanks.
Repeat after me. I am powerful.